Steve's always going on to me about getting out there and actually going e-mountain biking, get away from the bike parks, get away from the jumps, actually go out there and explore the big mountains. Well, today I'm heading to Scotland in miniature. This is the Isle of Arran, and it's going to be my first e-mountain bike adventure ride. So I want you guys to come along and enjoy the experience. Well, we've just arrived on the ferry across from the mainland to the Isle of Arran. I've done a bit of research on the island and it does look amazing for mountain biking. There's loads of good trails here. I've checked it out on Strava heat maps, Google Maps, everything like that. And I've even brought along an OS map along for the ride, but I'm not too sure actually how to use one of these things. Probably good for drying my tears a little bit later on or eating my chips out of later. So I've called in my good friend, Martin Steele. He's a Scottish adventure style rider and he knows this area really well. He should be along any minute now, hopefully. In fact, here he is now. How you doing, Martin? You all right?
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Yeah, good to see you.
Well, welcome to Arran.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it. It looks amazing. It's not even raining yet.
Not yet, no, Chris, but we might find a little bit of rain later on.
Well, I hope not. What sort of ride you got in store for us today, then?
So I think weather's not too bad, so let's head up Goat Fell.
Yeah,
see how far we get towards the top. Probably take you up to about 650 metres.
Yeah. Well,
and if you've gone up, you've got to come down again.
It's going to be some hiker bike.
A little bit of hiker bike, but some pretty nice riding.
Yeah, and Goat Fell's the biggest mountain on the island, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I've seen some stuff online on it. It looks pretty epic. So, do you want to take this?
I'll take that. Yep.
And let's get into it then.
Excellent.
2 batteries going to be enough?
It's definitely a 2 battery day.
Cool. Right, let's go. I cannot believe how amazing this island is. You know, we're just here, we can see seals to the right. I've just seen an otter. What other stuff are we going to see today?
Well, if we're lucky, we might see one of the eagles in the islands. There's lots of golden eagles here.
Golden eagles?
And some seagulls here as well.
Yeah.
Who knows what's in the water?
There's loads of midges around as well, so let's get moving. So here we are, Goatfield Summit and the top of the big mountain. Is this the right way?
Yes, this is where it starts to get a bit more mountainous. So
thank God, I've had enough of the road riding. I thought I brought the wrong bike for that.
A little bit too much for that, but I think this is probably where the road runs out and the actual
mountain biking
trail
begins.
start.
Nice. Looks pretty cold up there, though.
Yeah, so I guess you're probably, good rule of thumb is you're every 300 feet up you go, you drop 1 degree in temperature. So
you need to be wearing the right clothing then, yeah?
In Scotland in summer.
Definitely. What do you reckon, 10 minutes in turbo mode to get up there?
Let's see how we go on. We've got about 650 metres to climb as well in the 2 miles to the summit.
Right, go on then, lead the way if you know where you're going.
Yeah, a couple of tourist eagles out over there, Chris.
Tourist eagles, nice. Probably waiting for us to drop dead, pushing these bikes up the mountain and eat our carcass, I'd imagine. Did you pack the defib?
No, but I'm okay for CPR for a few minutes at least.
I had a whole camembert for my dinner last night, so I got a whole camembert pumping through my veins, so this hiker bike definitely isn't much fun. So using a map then, Martin, how do I know how much further we've got to climb up this climb? You know, I'm looking from the sea level up to the top of that mountain. I'm guessing we're kind of about halfway up.
Yeah, so coming up from like 0 meters above sea level where we started the climb.
Yeah.
We're going to be topping out just about 640.
Okay.
And at the moment we're at 350, so
okay, cool.
almost halfway there.
So it is over halfway.
Yeah.
Sweet. So a bit more pushing to go yet. So it's really important to check out the type of trail you're going to be riding. Maybe try and have a look on YouTube or something, maybe some head cam footage or walkers footage from the actual trip itself. The thing is, with the gradient here, it's not actually that steep for an e-bike, but it's how technical the trails actually are, all the rock steps and things like that. You're simply not going to be able to pedal because the trail's kind of cut in as well, it's quite washed out, so pedal strikes and the way the rocks are actually steps make this really hard work on even an e-bike. So I'm afraid it's time to hike a bike on this, but if the whole ride was like this, it would be pretty much no point in doing it. You'd be out for a walk with a bike, so it's really important to check those trails out. Now when the trail gets super technical, just pushing your bike like I am is really hard work. You've got all those steps to try and bounce your bike up as well, so a really good way of doing it is a hike a bike technique. Now we've done a few videos on it before, but the way you do it is just drop that pedal down to 6 o'clock, get on your desired side, you want to pick the bike up. Also remember to turn your power off as well, just to make sure the motor doesn't kick in. Grab the forks, grab the seat tube, big long lift up onto your shoulder. That way it makes getting up those steps a lot easier.
We've got our river crossing to come up next.
River crossing, this looks pretty fast flowing. I think, give me some stream crossing tips then, Martin. What we got?
Yes, Chris, the obvious line choice isn't often the one you want to take, so let's pick our route through this really carefully.
Yeah.
Make sure all our pockets are done up because we don't want to lose anything and it heads downstream. Cool. And let's pick our way across this really gently.
So pushing across or hike a bike in?
I think we'll push across and then you can use the bike as a tripod as you go.
Nice. Okay, I'll follow you and I'm hopefully not going to fall in then.
Okay.
So Martin, if I remember right, that sign said 2.5 miles to the summit. And we're nearly 2.5 hours into this ride. And we're still not there. What's going on?
So when you're coming up something this steep, you've got to factor in the terrain, the fact that we're pushing and carrying all the way up this.
Yeah, so it's more of a walk.
It's more of a walk at this point.
Yeah. And obviously conditions are pretty nasty up here. I mean, visibility, what would you do if this like cloud level set in a bit more? You know, we're on quite a defined track, but I mean, it could become, not that clear.
Yeah, this is the point that having like a proper map with you really helps.
Yeah.
Because if you're navigating from a mobile phone and your battery runs out, you're pretty stuffed up here.
It's always wise to bring an OS map along for the ride.
Yeah, and also know how to use it. So you don't just bring them with you, be able to locate yourself on a map and know which direction you're headed.
I was going to say also something to dry your tears off in later on. If you
exactly,
get
yeah. Quite absorbent.
We finally reached the summit and it's been a hell of a ride. Wow, a bit of a push, a bit of hiker bike, you name it, we've been doing it up. It's been pretty hard work, but it's all downhill from here. And I reckon we're gonna kick things off with this big rock kicker here. Look at all these rocks, perfect transition. What's this about then?
So this is a cairn, Chris. So this is about, it can be used as a navigation aid.
Right.
The good thing about this one is it's marked on the map and we know that this is our turning point. Okay. We've come up from one side, we've hit the cairn, and now it's descending all the way back down into Brodick.
Descending all the way down, that's what I'm into. This trail is actually crazy. I've never ridden something so technical and for so long. Rock fields, you know, it is crazy. What's the technique for this one, Martin?
So I think coming down this one, you got to concentrate on front where your front wheel's going and trusting your back wheel's going to follow you down.
Yeah, really looking ahead, I think, is definitely key. I think making the shape of every rock you encounter as well with the bike suspension. And I think momentum definitely really helps. Keeping the momentum in the wheels keeps you firing over all this rough stuff. As soon as you slow down, I'm feeling like I'm getting bucked and jacked all over the place. I think momentum's definitely key.
Yeah, definitely. If you start breaking into these sections, you start losing momentum, and then you're probably going to go out the front door.
Yeah, you also got to be really careful for those tight, like pinch gaps. I noticed quite a few rocks have got those edges that are just dying to rip your rear mech off, as well as the water bars as well. I think it'd be quite easy to pick up a flat tyre here as well. So line choice, looking ahead, momentum is going to make stuff like this a lot easier. Whoa. Now that was pretty insane. Downhill all the way through that tech rocky stuff and then flat out through the forest as well. That was amazing. A bit more muddy down here though.
Yeah, definitely muddy and a little bit midgy in the trees as well.
Yeah, the midges. I got bitten a few times and that, but that was pretty cool. So what's next? I'm pretty hungry.
So I think we should head down to town, get a bite to eat, and then do a little bit more exploring.
Yeah, definitely. I'm well up for that. So if you haven't brought a spare battery with you, now is your time to get your battery on charge. Just try and be a bit friendly to the cafe owner or pub, whatever you go into. Maybe give them a little tip, stick your battery on charge and get it topped up for your next adventure. Well, we just finished up lunch here at the cafe. It's really important to schedule in a lunch stop on those big rides as well, because it's all about managing your battery. But if you get tired before your battery's done, then it's not going to be a good day out. So schedule in a lunch stop, get charged up, get a few drinks in, and it's a good chance to take a look at your route as well. We've done a bit more route planning. I think Martin's got something special in store for us after this.
Yeah, I think it's this time we're going to go around to Glen Rosa, which is kind of behind Goatfell where we were previously, and just have a little look and see how far we get up that track.
Nice. We don't want to miss that last ferry though, so
definitely don't want to miss the ferry.
On the time, because that last climb I think it took us 2.5 hours to get up.
Yeah.
So if this is any bigger, we're going to be swimming back, and I don't think the e-bikes are too keen on the water, are they? So Martin, let's take a look inside this mountain biking sporran. Is that the right word?
Yeah, close enough. There's a fair amount in here, so it might take a little while.
Okay, I just want to see the essentials for these big days out, you know, like what we're doing today up in the hills.
A spare battery. There's some extra Primaloft clothing in here.
Okay, cool.
And an extra dry pair of gloves. You had a map, but I've also got a map.
And it's waterproof as well.
And a waterproof map.
a compass.
Multi-tool, chain loop.
Right.
And the compass has a whistle attached to the other end of
so
it.
if we get lost.
I've got a tubeless repair kit, some little bags of nuts and bolts, some extra brake pads.
Right.
3 meters of hazard tape.
Is that for...
So in case you had a group and somebody had an accident, you could close off the trail so nobody can come rolling through it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Tire levers, all the stuff you'd expect. Some more clothing, a waterproof jacket, first aid kit, a little splint in case you needed to splint your arm.
Okay, cool.
You can hold it under there and then splint your arm with some bandages.
Nice.
Some brake and gear cable, a pump, obviously. I've got some spare inner tubes, and most importantly, I've got some Scotch eggs. Scotch eggs
to keep you topped up. Now, that's a hell of a kit, isn't it? Well, that bag was definitely super impressive. You know, that is the best bag I've ever seen for mountain biking. You say it's kind of like the kit you'd have for your mountain leader, is that right?
Yep, that's right.
It's the bare minimum. But we've got half an hour left, and that ferry, I think, should be coming into port pretty soon. There you go, back to where it all began first thing this morning. We've done an absolutely amazing day out there in the mountains. It's been absolutely epic. I want to say thanks, Martin, for an amazing day out. And it's definitely whetted my appetite for those big mountain adventures. So expect to see me on a hill near you with Steve Jones real soon. But if you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget you can subscribe to E-MTB by clicking the globe in the middle of the screen. If you want to check out another video, check out Hannah Barnes and the epic trip that she did with Steve Jones over here. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Drop some comments in the box below. We've got to get the ferry because it's about to disappear, and that is the last one back from the island. So we'll see you soon.